Hello, hello. My name is Danielle Cabrera and I am a beauty guide with Limelight by Alcone, and today I want to talk about one of my favorite looks, the no makeup look. So I am going to start by prepping my face with the First Base Makeup Primer Spray. Just spray that all over, and then I'll take my Blenderful and just kind of pat it in. Make sure, it's everywhere. Okay. You want to make sure that you let the primer spray dry completely. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Botanical foundation in Jetta Beige. I'm going to take my Blenderful and do 1/2 turn. And then I'm just going to pat it on. And I try to do the areas where I need the most coverage first, which is usually my jawline and cheeks, and then my nose. And then I will come up onto my forehead, and I'm just patting the foundation in. I'll come in and do my eyes a little bit just to try to even out the skin tone. And we're not going to go too heavy because we're going for a no makeup look. And then I'm just bringing it down onto my neck. And I like to tap my foundation onto my lips a little bit just to even out the skin tone around my lips. And then I'll come in with the tip of my Blenderful to get around my nose. Okay, and then I'm going to use the back of a brush to scrape off a little concealer, and I'm using concealer 2. I'm applying it to the back of my hand to warm it up a little bit. Eyelash in my eye. Sorry about that. So I'm just using my ring finger and just warming up the concealer a little bit. I'll put it on my ring finger and just tapping into the corner, the inner corner, and then the outer corner of my eyes. The concealer is waterproof, which is pretty awesome. And this concealer, number 2, is really good to hide the dark circles under your eyes. And then I always like to bring the concealer up onto my lid and all the way up to my brow bone. It just evens out my eyes. We all have a little discoloration on our lids, whether it's a pinky discoloration or purple. And then I'm going to also take this concealer and cover up my problem areas, which is this side of my face. This is the side I sleep on, and it's also the side that I hold my phone on. And I think that's where most of my issues are coming from, is my phone, because I change my pillowcase every 2 nights. Okay, and then just take my Blenderful and blend it out. Okay, and then I'm going to take my pointy powder brush and just dip it into our Perfect Press powder. It is translucent, and I'm just going to pat it on my lid. And into the corner of my eyes. Okay, and then I'm going to take the angled powder brush, and again with the Perfect Press powder, and I am just dabbing it and pressing it into my foundation to set the foundation. Okay, now I'm going to take another puffy brush, and I'm going to use blush number 6, this one, and I'm just going to add a little highlight on my cheeks and down my nose, my chin, and then just a little bit of color up. Just using this blush to bring a little bit of color to my face, but again, we don't want too much. That's why I'm using this instead of bronzer, because we're looking for the no makeup look. And then I'm actually going to use an eyeshadow for my blush because I don't want it to be too dark, so I'm using Pink Happy Thoughts. It's just a really pretty pale pink, just to bring a little color to my cheeks without being too dramatic. This is a great look for just running around town. My son has a soccer game tonight, so just an everyday look, and it's just a really subtle pink on the cheeks, which I really like. I'm also going to use that same color on all over my lid, so Pink Happy Thoughts, and I'm just tapping it on my lid and then swiping it up to my brow bone. And then I'm going to take an angled brush and I'm going to use Coral of the Story. Very lightly tap my brush and just come in to the crease and bring it up just a little bit, just to kind of emphasize the shape of my eye. Again, it's a very subtle look, which is perfect for spring. Just, you know, hanging around town, not doing much, everyday look. And if you want, you can even completely skip this step right here and just do that one color on your lid and throw on some mascara, do your brows, and be done. Okay, now I'm going to go in with my puffy brush and pastel me about it and just hit up under my brow, just to highlight under my brow and kind of blend it all together. And then I'm going to just take a liner brush and I'm going to go in with La Vida Mocha, just a brown shadow, and just quickly do a little liner, nothing dramatic, just to bulk up my lash line. That's all I'm doing. Look at the difference between this eye and this eye just by bulking up my lash line. It's just using shadow as liner is just, it's a great everyday look, just to give a little subtle definition. And then I'm going to just bring a little bit along the bottom lash line. Just a little. Okay. Now for brows, I'm going to use Top for the Best, right there. And I'm going to start at the tail. And I'm just filling it in. Brows are so important to really frame your face, and it really pulls the whole look together. And I came down too low. There we go. And then I am also going to go in with One Night Sand right here to kind of fill in this edge without it being too dark. So just look at the difference that the brow makes on this side versus that side. Okay, then I'm going to just take a little spoolie, kind of just brush it through, blend it out, make it a little bit more natural. Okay, this one over here is just not cooperating today. Okay, and then we're going to add a little mascara, our perfect mascara. Probably going to do 2 coats. That's 1 coat on my right eye. Look at that difference, just 1 coat. I did it again. I messed up and hit my nose with the mascara. All right, eyes are done. clean up just a little bit. I got some mascara on my nose. Alright, lips. Real simple. I'm using Grace lip gloss. And there you have it. The no makeup look, perfect for spring and just everyday errands. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week. Bye.